Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rich Bradley, President of the Board of Public Service. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Public Service for November 8th, 2022. This is a public meeting, so I would ask that only members of this board be allowed to speak unless recognized by myself or the secretary. We do not have any lettings today, but we do have one hearing, so we will start with that. Hearing number 130619-RH. Hearing number 130619-RH is being conducted pursuant to section 26.100.030 of the revised code of the city of St. Louis. The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether to revoke the conditional use permit numbered as 130619 issued to DBA Regal Market CO Kamal Manasra to occupy 5791 Thekla Avenue as a convenience store with carry-out no liquor. The parties have been notified of the violations of the conditions of this conditional use permit in writing by certified mail, along with the posted notice of today's hearing date. This hearing has been convened in order to address the issues surrounding the conditions numbered as 2, 6, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the conditional use permit, and the conditions in questions are as follows. Condition number 2, the applicant shall maintain a trash removal contract through a private source for regular pickups and keep the entire premise in a clean and orderly appearance at all times. Condition number 6, there shall be no sale of items that can be used or intended for use as drug paraphernalia as defined in Ordinance 68404 or its successor ordinances, including but not limited to food scales, glass tubes, disposable lighters with pop-off tops, steel scrubbing pads and screens, rolling papers, ephedrine or pseudoephedrine, diet supplements, sleep aids, bath salts, or other substitutes for illegal drugs. Condition number 10, the applicant must apply for and receive a permit from the City of St. Louis Building Division before posting signage, and the signage must be professionally prepared and approved by the Office of the Zoning Administrator before being installed. Condition number 11, all existing signage for which no permits were issued must be applied for and receive a permit from the City of St. Louis Building Division. Condition number 12, there shall be no temporary signage on the premise or posted to the exterior or interior of the doors or windows of the establishment at any given time. And condition number 13, all windows and doors must have no boards, grates, materials, mesh, or coverings of any kind. Windows and doors may have proper blinds or curtains on the inside of the windows. The Office of the Zoning Administrator has the burden to prove that the conditional use permit conditions have not been complied with. After all evidence of the Zoning Administrator has been presented, the board will ask for additional testimony, if any, in support of this revocation. Then the conditional use holder will be given an opportunity to present evidence. Lastly, the board will hear other testimony from anyone in opposition to this revocation. Your testimony today is being recorded. As you come forward, please state your name and address and be sworn in. As you testify, please direct your comments to the board and not to those in the audience. Members of the audience are asked to remain silent and not coach the witnesses. During your testimony, members of this board may have questions for you. Following the hearing, the board will proceed with its regular agenda. Following the conclusion of the regular agenda, the board will deliberate, discuss, and vote on the hearing. The board will notify the conditional use holder of its decision by mail in about 2 weeks. The Board of Public Service has in its possession the following documents which are being introduced in the evidence. Item 1, a certified copy of the zoning code of the city of St. Louis. Item 2, a collection of signatures of neighborhood residents sent via email to Sandra Long on November 8, 2021 by the firm that represents K&N Corporation, DBA Regal Market, indicating their support in the continued operation of the store at 5791 Thekla Avenue. Item 3, a letter dated November 10th, 2021, sent to the zoning administrator from Alderwoman Pam Boyd expressing her support of the request for a conditional use permit. Item 4, a memorandum dated September 28, 2022, from the zoning plan examiner to the zoning administrator stating that on October 3rd, 2022, the zoning inspector found violations of conditions number 2, 6, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the conditional use permit. This memo includes photographs of the noted violations. Item 5, the conditional use permit numbered as 130619 issued for DBA Regal Markets CO Kamal Mansara to occupy 5791 Thekla Avenue as a convenience store with carryout and no liquor. Item 6, a letter dated October 17, 2022, sent to DBA Regal Markets CO Kamal Mansara, 5791 Thekla Avenue from the board secretary, warning of the violations of conditions number 2, 6, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the permit that were found upon a recent site inspection and providing a notice for today's hearing. Item 7, a letter dated October 17, 2022, sent to Forrest A. Issa at 1727 Coachway from the board secretary, warning of the violations of conditions number 2, 6, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the permit that were found upon a recent site inspection and providing notice for today's hearing. Item number 8, a letter dated October 17, 2022, sent to K&N Corporation, CO Kamal Mansara, 28 Park Drive, from the board secretary, warning of the violations of conditions number 2, 6, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the permit that were found upon a recent site inspection and providing notice for today's hearing. And finally, item number 9, a copy of the public notice posted for today's hearing. At this time, the board asks a representative of the Office of Zoning Administrator to please come forward and be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do. Dylan Mosier, zoning office, room 400, City Hall. So I did the investigation that took place in late September, early October, and then I did another investigation both last night and this morning at about 9 to 9:45 or so. Let me see. So today I found them to be in violation, continued violation of condition number 6, which is the extensive condition about the sale of items that could be used for as drug paraphernalia or supplemental to illegal drugs. I'll note on this that they did clean up a variety of things that we found a month ago, approximately. There had been a variety of pipes and things that were for sale. Most of that had actually been cleaned up. Today, the only thing that I noticed was that they do still have the leaf tobacco wrappers, blunt wraps for lack of a better term. But I did include a picture of a large display case that previously had pipes and things in it. It was completely empty today when I went by. I continue to find them in violation of condition number 10, which states that they have to have permits for any signage that they put up. And then it's somewhat redundant, but condition number 11 essentially states that any signage that was existing when they took the business over would need permits if it didn't currently have permits. Since the initial investigation and from my records, since they had first opened up, there haven't been any new sign permit applications applied for or approved by our office. So that has continued to be in violation. For what it's worth, it does look like if you compare the pictures from late September, early October to the pictures that I submitted today, they've taken away a lot of the signage that they had. And actually for that reason, I went ahead and I didn't cite them for being in violation of condition number 12, like I did approximately a little over a month ago. That one states that you can't have temporary signage. And I would say that what they have up this morning when I was there, I wouldn't think of any of that to be temporary in nature. Convenience stores and such, they consistently have a lot of signage related to the products that they sell, cigarettes and soda pop, whatever. And so they cleaned up a lot of that, but still no permits. So they're still in violation. And then lastly, they're still in violation of condition number 13, which states that, they can't have coverings or bars or grates over their windows. That situation continues to be the same.
Okay, so just to summarize, thank you for your report. Just to summarize, they are still in violation of condition number 6, although dramatic changes have happened. They are still in violation of 10 and 11, 12 and 13, correct?
Correct. And they're no longer in violation of condition number 2, which is regarding having a trash contract and a commercial dumpster. And also within that condition, it states that they should keep their lot in an orderly fashion and not messy and whatnot. And I would say that was a dramatic improvement as well, just to give credit where credit's due, and no longer in violation of condition number 12.
Okay, great. So with that report and clarification, I'll ask if any of our board members have any questions for Dylan Mosier.
I do have one, and perhaps Mr. Moser, it's been relayed before. When you don't have permits, how arduous of a process is that to simply, and I'm not saying by saying simply that I'm saying it's not, how quick of a turnaround can a business expect, if it's fair to ask you, applying for the permit and then assuming everything was fine and receiving that permit? What type of timeline is that? Do you know offhand?
After lockdown, we stopped doing any type of sign permits over the counter same day. If we made an exception for that, which, isn't impossible, it could be pretty quick. I don't want to, what's arduous for me as somebody who works in the zoning office, might seem extremely difficult for a business. I did have a chance to speak with some of these folks at this business, and I feel like I have a decent rapport with them. I also personally approve sign permits. So I'm happy to make that as easy as possible of a process for them. I think what they have on in terms of signage today would probably be approved. A month and some change ago, they had a lot of signage and they probably exceeded their square footage. It seems like what they took down probably would put them, in the realm of what could be approved. So, I think if they applied, we could get them a permit within 2 weeks, assuming that, the square footage is okay. And those are actually approvable types of signs.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of our other board members for Dylan? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Dylan, for your report. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
At this time, if there's anyone present who wishes to testify that the noted conditions have not been complied with and so support a revocation, please come forward and be sworn in. I'm not seeing anyone. If you're out there and you want to support the revocation and I don't see you, Please speak up now. Okay, let the record reflect that there is no one in attendance today that supports the revocation. At this time, the board asks the conditional use permit holder to please come forward and be sworn in.
Good afternoon, board. This is actually Rob Lutfia, the use holder's attorney. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, so we need you to swear in with the secretary first, please.
Is the attorney or do you want the witness? I've got my client here.
Well, I would prefer whoever's going to speak swear in. So are you going to make comments in his behalf?
I will, yes.
Yeah, go ahead and swear in first.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Great. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, board, this afternoon for your time. Thank you, Mr. Mosier, for your input and for your follow-up today. I understand that, my client has made a number of changes at the location, which were supported by Mr. Mosier. I guess to start with, I'd like to address a couple of those things. Mr. Mosier indicated with regard to condition number 6, that they cleaned up a variety of things. I'm well aware that that there were some hookahs, which were like Middle Eastern, like water pipes that were in there that were taken out, significant number of ashtrays, some other things were referenced in the report and they were taken out. And the only thing noted today, was leaf tobacco wrappers. And I'm just going to make sure, because my client, I think, is willing to take out whatever is necessary to be compliant. I mean, their focus at this store is on groceries and the kitchen. They're not concerned about most of the stuff. In fact, most of the stuff was carried over inventory when they bought the place less than a year ago. It was inventory that was in the store that they just been kind of liquidating and haven't replenished. So I'll ask, you're okay with taking out the leaf tobacco?
Okay.
Yeah, he said no problem. He'll take those out as well to be compliant with that. And if there are any other issues, I agree with Mr. Mosier. I think he was at the store this morning and spoke with one of the operators. And it sounds like, they're communicating well, which is great. Anything that Mr. Mosier has objection to, I think, they would, stop selling at the store because, as I said, they're focused on, groceries and the kitchen at the location. With regard to the signs, so as Mr. Mosier explained, most of the signs now have been taken down. The ones that are there are the permanent ones. So the ones you see in the photographs, which were for, a lot of it was promoting items in the kitchen, I forgot what it was. It says T-bone steak, fish, burgers, wings, that kind of stuff. Those have all been taken down. I think Mr. Mosier would agree with that. And as far as I understand, the only remaining signs are the ones that are for the business that say Regal Meat Market, have the address and phone number on them. And as my client's understanding from when he purchased the place, a little less than, or maybe it was about a year ago, that, those signs have been there for some of them for over 25 years and that they were previously permitted. And so he didn't, if they're not, he's happy to do that. He's happy to go through the process, make sure they get permitted properly and make sure that he's compliant on that. But his understanding from the previous owner was that they were permitted. And so, he's obviously regrets that, that led to where we are today, but definitely wants to become compliant on that. I think that addresses, so that was 6, 10, and 11. The only remaining issue is on item 13, and it has to do with the coverings over the windows. And I would ask the board, if you have in front of you the photographs that Mr. Mosier took, there's no denying that there are, decorative metal grates over the glass windows, which, the glass windows appear to be at, a height where they could be accessed by the public. And those metal, grates, again, which are decorative, if you see them, they're, they actually look very nice. It's something I put in my home. They were placed there by Mr. Issa, the owner of the property, back in, did you say 1989? He's here also, by the way. And they've been there since 1989. He put them in himself. And the reason for that is for security, because, without those grates, the fear is that not only we have break-ins, you have broken glass in the, you know, on the sidewalk and around the store. And so it's actually protecting the public as opposed to, you know, putting the public in harm's way with, you know, broken glass and whatever could come from people trying to break into the store. Not to mention the security of the store. I've got, I spoke this morning to Sergeant Chris Rumsa, who actually has joined us here today, and I think he'd like to say a few words in support of the store. Sergeant Rumsa, are you there? He's logged in, but I know he's also he was working, so here he comes. So, board, if it's appropriate at this time, I'll let Sergeant Rumsa speak, and then maybe come back to where we go from here.
So what I'd like to do is ask Sergeant Rumsfeld to please be sworn in by the secretary.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, as far as speaking to the code violations and everything, it's not, you know, something I pay attention to. Really didn't notice any of that stuff. I just wanted to throw out there that Regal Market's been in my opinion, a good impact on the community. I visit there a couple times every week, and I see good people in there. It's a good opportunity for me to meet community members on a situation where, you know, police aren't needed. We're just seen. Montana's always been welcoming for me or any of my squad that goes up there, and I just would like to. When he asked me to speak on his behalf, I couldn't say no. You know, he's helpful for the neighborhood, so I want to try to help him out.
Okay. Do you have any closing comments for the conditional use holder?
Yeah, just to recap. So, you know, again, my client is willing to do whatever it is that, you know, that makes the board and the zoning department happy in terms of, you know, being compliant with all the ordinances and with their permit. Most of the things that we talked about, again, were there. I don't think I mentioned, but all the signs, everything was there from the previous owner. The inventory that was purchased, the stuff that we were talking about earlier with the hookahs and a grinder and some other things, you know. So look, they're not interested in selling these things. They don't really care. It's just they happen to be there when they took over, and so they just continue to sell them. And so, you know, and as Mr. Mosier, you know, already testified, you know, they've already been removed. So, or most of them have. And if there's anything else, you know, we'll certainly address that. As far as the signs, you know, definitely, if they haven't been permitted, then, you know, we'll get that done immediately. You know, it sounds like it can be done pretty quickly, and Mr. Mosier is willing to, you know, accommodate that and to do it in a quick fashion. So I think that, you know, in the end, you know, it's regrettable that, you know, we're here today. However, you know, they're all things that can be remedied, and, you know, so that this store can go on and serve the community and, you know, in a way that's lawful and compliant with the city's ordinances.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you, Sergeant Rums, for your testimony. So just a couple comments from me, and then we'll go around the horn and see if any other directors have any questions or comments. So it sounds like your client wants to be very cooperative, wants to work with us, would like to do whatever it takes to make things right. I will say that's great, and we definitely appreciate that. I would also mention the bit about the grading on the windows, that what I would recommend you do is to work with Dylan, and I see Mary Hart Burton, who is the zoning administrator, on the call as well. They understand the zoning code and the requirements of things that can and can't be done. If there's a possibility to do a variance for those window grates, I would suggest you ask them for that. They will tell you whether or not that can be done, and if there's a way for this board to accommodate at their recommendation, I would be pretty sure that we would do that for a good business. So those are generally my comments, and I will just ask if any of the other board members have any questions or comments they would like to ask or make.
I have a question. This is Scobie.
Yes, sir.
How much time would you need to get everything in order if we give it to you? 30 days, 60 days?
I think, I'm sorry, you're asking me, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I think that, it's really a matter of, conferring with Mr. Moser and his department as to, maybe the variance on the windows, okay? And then also on the specifics of the, the quote drug, type products, making sure that that's all, all good, that they're happy with that. And then the other thing is the signage, which it sounds like Mr. Moser, is willing to cooperate and make this go very quickly. So, I think 30 days to me sounds like should be plenty of time as long as the zoning department can accommodate us. Now, I say this knowing as somebody who works in, in the courts and in, administrative settings, we've got Thanksgiving and we've got Christmas, 30 days, Christmas is more than 30 days, but Thanksgiving is a week where not a whole lot gets done. So, I still don't think it's impossible, but I think it can be done relatively quickly.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know how often the board meets. So does the board meet weekly,
Weekly, every Tuesday.
every Tuesday? So maybe we got like 5 weeks because there's Thanksgiving in there and with the goal of having it done here in the next week or two, prior to Thanksgiving.
But if we gave you 60 days, there's nothing to prevent getting it done in the next couple days or a week or two. So, okay, you've answered my
Yeah,
question.
I would say subject to the availability and the ability of everyone to cooperate with each other, which it sounds like isn't going to be a problem, should be no issue.
Any other questions from any of our other board members for either Mr. Latifia or Sergeant Rumsfeld?
I appreciate the testimony. I think that was great comments, President and Mr. Scobie. I think that was a great question. We're right on line with what I was going to ask, is what I'm hearing here is professionalism and willingness to work with the city and not debate the city on the codes and violations and argue them. So that's refreshing. And I do appreciate the law enforcement perspective. The police officers sound like that, not just this police officer who testified today, Mr. Rumsa, but others sound like they frequent the location. And if I know if they had concerns, they would relay them here today, and I didn't hear any of those concerns. So thank you.
Okay, any final comments from any of our board members?
President Bradley, I know you're speaking to the board members, but the zoning administrator is on the line. She's used the hand raise function. She may want to add a little more in regard to sort of the zoning side of things.
Great, thank you for bringing it to my attention. Mary?
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I just wanted to mention on the timing issue, if the board is going to consider a continuance, they might consider a 60-day continuance, because right now we are scheduling for the second week of December. So if their sign has to go, when they apply for their sign permits, if it does need to go to the Board of Adjustment, they would probably need to allow about 6 weeks to get on an agenda. So I'm just bringing that up, that if a 30-day extension may not give them enough time if it needs to go to the Board of Adjustment. We don't know that because we don't have a sign permit yet. They could present something that we can approve right away, but just in case.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that comment and that guidance.
Thank you.
So thank you for your testimony today for the conditional use holder. Before we close this hearing, I would like to ask if there's anyone else present besides those who have spoken, who are opposing this revocation that wish to testify. So if you're out there, you're opposing it and you haven't spoken, please come forward and be sworn in. Okay, I don't see anyone, so let the record reflect that the only person who was not opposed to the revocation was Sergeant Rumspa, and we will now close the hearing. The matter concerning hearing number one, excuse me, the matter concerning hearing number 130619-RH is now closed and submitted, and the board will proceed with its regular agenda. At this time, I will ask secretary to please call the roll.
Director Davis,
Present.
Director Hayes,
Aye.
Director Isom,
Present.
Director Scoggin, Director Scobie,
Present.
Director Williams,
Present.
and President Bradley.
Present, we have a quorum. I'll call the meeting in order and ask you to speak up just a tad, Dre, if you can.
President Bradley, may I interject?
Yes,
I may be mistaken, but it appears as if the conditional use holders attorney was going to interject and ask a question, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I just want to make sure that you're done with me and that we can log off, and we'll be receiving something in the mail as far as a continuance.
yep.
Is that the decision?
You can certainly stay for the meeting. It'll last about 5 minutes. And then
Okay.
we will, we'll take up this topic on the backside of the meeting. If you want to log off, you can, and you should have a decision from us relatively quickly here. We will make that decision at the end of our meeting here. So either way, you're welcome to stay or go.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, yes, sir. Go ahead, Dre.
And recommendation that approval be given as follows. First amendment to memorandum of agreement contract document number 73806 for the expansion of improvements to inbound baggage system and facilities terminal 2 at St. Louis International Airport by and between the city of St. Louis, Missouri and Southwest Airlines Company. This amendment declares the memorandum of agreement dated December 18, 2018 to be null and void and no longer in effect, and is authorized by ordinance number 70855. Amendment number 1 to contract number 77255 for building custodial services with White's Maintenance Service. This amendment adds the water division to the contract and adds 3 months, extending the contract services from November 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2023. From the Office of Special Events, request for the following to be approved, subject to certain conditions. St. Margaret's Feast Day at Flat Avenue between 39th Street and Spring Avenue on November 12, 2022 from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Shapley's Soccer pregame at 21st Street between Locust Street and Olive Street on November 16 from 8 a.m. through 11:59 p.m. Director of Human Services, Public Utilities and Streets, recommendation that approval be given as follows. Application number 131291, Great Rivers Greenway to remove the parking garage at 701 Lenore K. Sullivan Boulevard. The area will be restored and seeded, and the 2 drives will be removed, restoring the walkway to match the existing. Director of Public Utilities, recommendation that the board declares as emergency actions for the following. Restore operation of Robin Wood vault site actuators. Removal and replacement of a 4-inch water supply line for the Howard Bend Water Treatment Plant engine house. Directors of Public Utilities and Safety, joint recommendation that the following be approved, subject to certain conditions. Application number 131292, request from Diana Bantu for lot consolidation at 6016, 6020, 6022, and 6024 Bartmer Avenue in City Block 4131. If able, she would like to choose the consolidated address to be 6020 Bartmer Avenue. Application number 131293, request from Rubicon Corp. Consolidating 3141 and 3143 Ohio Avenue into one lot by combining lot 34 and 35, Block 3, Delano subdivision in City Block 1759 into one lot being 34A. Directors of Public Utilities and Streets, joint recommendation that 2 applications from Everstream be approved, subject to certain conditions. Application number 0000097 5355 Enright Avenue, in application number 0000995355 and Wright Avenue. Joint recommendation that one application from Union Electric doing business as Ameren, Missouri be approved subject to certain conditions. Application number 131-259-1717 Olive Street. Director of Streets recommendation that the following be canceled, filed. Application number 129477, request from the Learning Center doing business as the Link Auditorium to encroach with banners on 2 light posts at 4505 Westminster Place, with one on Westminster Place and one on North Taylor Avenue. The request was approved by the board on October 26, 2021, approval number 302022. After several attempts to obtain certificate of insurance, the applicant has failed to provide certificate of insurance, did not follow up, and the banners were never put up. Application number 130927, request from St. Louis Midtown Redevelopment Corp. To encroach with 33 banners at Shoto Avenue, South Grand Boulevard, Compton Avenue, Forest Park Avenue, and Vanderventure Avenue. The request was approved by the board on June 21st, 2022. Approval number 303003. On November 2nd, 2022, the applicant stated that they won't be putting approved banners up until sometime in the first quarter of 2023. And for the Director of Public Safety, there are 7 conditional uses.
All right, good afternoon again. Dylan Mosier with the City Zoning Office, City Hall, room 400. Per board order number 766, transmitted herewith our recommendations for the following conditional use agenda applications. Approval with conditions is recommended for 7 applications. Those applications are 8824 North Broadway, 3814 Penrose, 2327 Hickory, 3725 Foundry Way, Unit 135, 2834 Cherokee Street, 7120 Southwest Avenue, and 3300 through 04 Washington Boulevard. I request these recommendations be approved as submitted.
Thank you, Dylan. Are there any questions from any of our board directors on today's conditional uses?
Greg Hayes, motion to approve the conditional uses as submitted.
Second Davis.
Thank you, directors. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Davis,
Aye.
Director Hayes,
Aye.
Director Isom,
Aye.
Director Scotting,
Aye.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Williams,
Aye.
President Bradley.
Aye, today's conditional uses are approved. I'd like to discuss hearing number 130619-RH 5791 Thekla Convenience Store. We heard from the zoning administrator's representative that many of the conditions in question have been cleared up. There were still, it appears that condition number 6, 10, 11, and 12 are still hanging out there with some minor violations. We heard from the conditional use permit holders representative that he is willing to resolve all those issues and work with us, and then also work with the zoning department on possibly discussing this issue with the grates or guards in the windows, and that would be solely up to the zoning administrator to recommend us what's appropriate in that area. And there were no one in opposition or no one for, one in opposition, Sergeant Rumsfeld from the Rumsfa from the St. Louis Police Department, spoke on behalf of the conditional use permit holder and had all positive comments. So with that brief introduction, I'll open the floor up for any comments or questions from the board directors.
When the holiday, just a comment and then I'll make a motion. When the holidays were broached, that was astute to bring those up, because I know there's difficulty getting some things done anywhere, but with the confidence level of possibly 60 days, I make a motion for a continuance of 60 days for the conditional use holder to rectify the conditions that are still in violation at the moment. So 60-day continuance.
Is there a second to that motion?
Isom second.
Okay, so before we vote, I'll ask, is there any further comments or questions from any of the other board directors?
My only comment would be that the lawyer did ask that this was, that this took into account the ability for them to get, ample communications in a timely fashion. I don't know if we need to amend the motion to consider that, or if we still think 60 days would be, because when we discussed the 60 days, he still said that would be predicated on the appropriate coordination and communications.
So Director, I think that's a good point. Mary Hart, who's the zoning administrator, made comments during the hearing. And, Mary oversees this entire process and, works up in the building division and felt that 60 days would be a legitimate time to get this done. I would also recommend that if, we don't have to amend the motion, but if there is a problem and it drags on longer than 60 days, we can simply postpone the hearing until it is ready to be reheard by this board. So I believe 60 days is sufficient. Mary, do you
Thank
have any
you.
further comments on that?
Thank you. I agree, and I think that will suffice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director. Any other comments from any of the other directors? Okay, seeing none, can you call the roll, please?
Director Davis,
Aye.
Director Hayes,
Aye.
Director Isom,
Aye.
Director Scoggin,
Aye.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Williams,
Aye.
President Bradley.
Aye, this hearing will be continued for 60 days. I'd like to turn your attention to our meeting minutes from our last meeting on November the 1st, 2022. Are there any questions or comments on those meeting minutes as submitted? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve, Davis.
Second, Scobie.
Thank you, directors. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Davis,
Aye.
Director Hayes,
Aye.
Director Isom,
Aye.
Director Scoggin,
Aye.
Scobie,
Aye.
Director Williams,
Aye.
and President Bradley.
Aye, the meeting minutes are approved. Today's BPS meeting agenda. Are there any questions on our agenda today?
I move to approve, Scobie.
Second, Williams.
Thank you, directors. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Davis,
Aye.
Director Hayes,
Aye.
Director Isom,
Aye.
Director Scoggin,
Aye.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Williams,
Aye.
and President Bradley.
Aye, the meeting agenda is approved. Before we adjourn, are there any questions or comments from any of the board directors? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, directors. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
You too, folks.
Everyone.